Hare Krishna. This is I'm Krishnendu, and this is
Danica.
she's my daughter, and we're doing our daily Facebook live show. So Danica just wanted to say hi
Hi.
and be on the recording, and now you're gonna go and have some lunch, hey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Weehaw.
Okay, here we go.
So what?
Have some good chapatis. All right. So now I'm back, just me, and yeah, today I don't have much time. Just keep it short to about 10 minutes. And today I'd like to talk about limiting beliefs. It's interesting. I was listening to a webinar this morning. In case you can't tell, I read a lot of books and listen to a lot of trainings and things like that. In fact, that's part of the reason why I'm doing these daily Facebook Lives, is that I'm doing a lot of reading, both Krishna conscious books, like this one, and the Manashiksha and Prabhupada's books, and then also training, from other people, and I get so many ideas of inspiration. And Srila Prabhupada, at one time, I forget who it was to, he said that we should write daily. We should do journaling and writing down our realizations. So in this modern age, this is my way of recording, the thoughts and inspirations that I get each day. So today it's about limiting beliefs. And I was listening to a webinar this morning, and the gist of the webinar was for people who have got the idea of starting a business but haven't been successful, what can they do to improve themselves? And it was really interesting. The whole angle that he came from was a spiritual perspective, basically, that our limiting beliefs about ourselves are false. That I have bad habits, or that I'm not confident. Certain different beliefs about who we are not true. That actually our spiritual identity is much more powerful than we realize, and these limitations that we put on ourselves are materialistic. So it was interesting, and I think from a Krishna conscious point of view, the idea that we can achieve anything. Now we might think, well, that sounds a bit Mayavadi, a little bit Ishwara Ham, I'm the controller. Let me give an example of a nice way of thinking about things if you want to achieve things, or if you want to do something great, especially to serve the order of the spiritual master. So let's move this a bit closer. Here's an example of Brigupati Prabhu, who's a great devotee and book distributor, originally joined in New York. And he's still distributing books at the age of, I think he must be about 65 now, and he still goes out to the concerts, driving for 7-8 hours each day, doing the concert, distributing so many books, and again the next day driving for 6 or 7 hours. Not all year, but just for a short period of time, but even still. Just to do that for a week or two at the age of 65 is amazing. But anyhow, he was giving the example of when he first, I'm not sure if it was when he first started distributing books, but he was distributing books, Bhagavad Gita and other books, in a very busy train station. And he was saying that one day nobody would stop, nobody wanted to take a book, and he was getting really disturbed and thinking to himself, I can't do this. And he was holding the Bhagavad Gita, and he looked at it, and then he thought to himself, yeah, I can't do this, but Krishna can do it. Just like Krishna did everything for Arjuna. So then when he had that understanding that I'm not the doer, let me just be the instrument, Brigupati Prabhu said he went out with a totally different mindset, and Krishna made all the arrangements. So I thought it was amazing that on this webinar today, this person was emphasizing that every person in this world has got God-given talents, and we have to try to find out what they are and serve the mission that God has given us. So he was speaking like this. I think he's from a Jewish background, from Israel. But what he was speaking was the exact same philosophy that's spoken in Krishna consciousness. So it was interesting, and he was emphasizing about developing character. which related to a post that I shared recently as well. It's the second most shared TED Talk of all time. Now, I forget what the name of that lady was. Let me just have a look again. It was, her name is Amy Cuddy, talking about how the body language that we use affects our consciousness. And, she gives the example that when people are happy, they smile, right? Naturally. She was saying also that if we were to take a pen, here we go. I'm not going to actually do this, but if we were to take a pen and put it between our teeth, it creates the same expression of smiling. And if you do that, just by taking that pencil or pen in your teeth like this, it forces your body to smile, and it actually creates the feeling of happiness that people get. So not only does your emotions affect the way you look, but also the way that we move our body and hold our body affects the way that we feel. So I thought this was really interesting, and it related also back to this talk that this guy was giving this morning, where it's about developing the right character. And if we want to be a different way, or if we want to achieve something, we have to think, what kind of person do I have to become to be successful at that? And then practice it. And just like this Amy Cuddy was saying, we need to, some people would say fake it until you make it. She would say that you fake it until you become it. And in Christian consciousness, it's the same principle, that we start chanting. Maybe we don't even like chanting, but we do it, and we do so many other things like deity worship and so on, because that's what pure devotees do. So we start to act the way a pure devotee will act. And in time, the process is that we start to develop the real feeling and emotions of a pure devotee. And this applies to anything that we want to put our mind to, that we want to achieve. That by acting in the way that a successful person would act, even though it doesn't feel natural, we start to develop those qualities, and naturally from there we start to do the things successful people do, and you start to get the results. So another point which was very interesting in the talk by this Amy Cuddy is she was saying that they got two groups of people. One group to go in a very sort of humble position like this, and another group to stand in power position like this, or the Wonder Woman position. Yeah. Wonder Woman. Right? And this was before they went for a job interview. Now, the job interview people had no idea what people had done before or after, but they had to judge who they would employ. And the ones that had used their body position to increase their confidence were the ones that were chosen for the job interviews. And so an interesting point that came out of this is it wasn't what was on the CV, it wasn't the qualifications that got the people the job, it was their qualities, their characteristics, the character. And I think this is a really important point when we consider about education. I'm on the board of the Hare Krishna school, and we're thinking, what kind of, what do we need to teach our children so that they can succeed in the future, whether they want to get a job or start a business or whatever? And I think this highlights the point that it's not just about the knowledge that we have, or even the skills that we have. It's a lot about our character, who we are, or the way that we present ourselves. So coming back to the point of limiting beliefs, sometimes we limit ourselves and say, I'm not confident, I'm shy, or I'm not a good speaker, and so on. So this person, Amy Cuddy, she was saying that she had all those types of limiting beliefs, but one of her mentors said, you just go and act as if you are. You act like you're confident, and you go and do it, and it'll come natural. And that's actually what happened with her. Anyhow, so when we're training our children, I think it's really important to put a focus on the qualities that our kids can have, looking at their individual strengths and then really building on those so that they can have confidence, and then they can be successful in whatever they do. And that the things that they learn in terms of the skills and the knowledge are not that relevant. In fact, society's changing at such a pace. I think I also shared recently if I haven't shared it, I'll share it just now. A quote from Garry Kasparov, the most successful chess grandmaster, of all time. And he was saying that in the future, everything will be different. Like, there's some jobs now that never existed before, like a drone operator or a social media manager. And so a lot of the skills that we learn now that we think will be useful may not be useful in the future. So we have to teach something different, and that's the transferable skills about being resilient, about working with people, communicating, being a good problem solver, creativity, that kind of thing. Yeah, so these are the sort of things that are going to be more helpful for our kids when they leave school. And even university. I mean, I have my doubts about university. Like, basically the idea is you go there, you put yourself into debt like $20,000 or $60,000, depending on the degree. Wait a minute, I thought the idea was that by going to university, it's a way to make money, right? It's the first thing, you put yourself in debt with the hope that when you come out, it'll help you to make money. And recently, the big universities, not universities, but big accounting firms, as well as other companies like Google, have said that if you want to work for us, you don't even need a university degree. Because we're looking at your qualities, not the marks that you got in your university tests or your school exams. So, interesting point to consider. So anyway, just to wrap up, I wanted to just read one little quote from here, from our family business, that inspired me today, because my inspiration is to be an entrepreneur in the sense of developing a business based on Krishna conscious principles and helping other people to do the same thing. So this is what Vaishesika Prabhu says in his book. Any simple soul who humbly applies Mahaprabhu's order to promote his Sankirtan movement has a better product and bigger field of engagement than any well-placed entrepreneur of the material world. But unlike an entrepreneur driven by the desire for personal enrichment and all its attendant status and power, one who strives to advance the cause of Lord Caitanya magnanimously benefits all living beings and attains the eternal profit of returning to the spiritual world, Sri Vrindavan Dham, at the end of life. So Vaishesika Prabhu really speaks to me, because I've got this inclination towards business, and he's pointing out that let's see how we can do Lord Caitanya's business. And therefore this quote here really calls to me that, look, I've been trying to do other kinds of business, but that's not my calling. The calling actually for all of us is how can we connect ourselves to Lord Caitanya's mission. And so with that in mind, I've started the Successful Vaisnavas podcast, which has been paused for a while. It's about to start again. But also I'm really interested now in networking with other devotees by setting up a membership site where we can share the experiences that we're all having. What's worked well, what's not worked well, people that are doing similar things that we can feel that we have some support and we can get some ideas from, and develop a community of devotees that are taking initiative and inspired to help the world through Krishna consciousness. So, keep tuned in about that. This is something that I'll be talking about in my daily Facebook Lives, and I'll let you know more about that, and if you're interested in joining, what it involves and what you can get out of it. But I'm really excited. I think it'll be something really valuable for many devotees. So it's time to sign out. I have to go to the garage, fix a broken tyre, flat tyre. But please leave a comment. Let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to hear me speak about, and if you find these Facebook Lives useful. I'm going to keep doing them every day, even if it's just short, as a way of sharing the inspiration that I'm getting from a whole lot of different books. It can save you perhaps from reading a whole lot of these books, or perhaps it might inspire you. Some of the ideas that I'm sharing might inspire you to read some of the books, and together we can discuss how we can apply it in Krishna consciousness. So I'll sign out there for now. This is Krishnendu Das, the founder of Successful Vaisnavas, creator of the Mayapur Success Formula, and the soon-to-be launched Empower and Preach membership site. Stay tuned. Hare Krishna.